Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Firefighters Podcast, where we seek to develop, inspire, and motivate the world of the emergency services operator through a series of wide-ranging conversations. Now, before we go any further, just hit that rate, follow, or subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to. It's a key performance indicator for us and helps us reach even more people. Now, here's what we've got for you today. Sir Edmund Hillary, who's a New Zealand mountaineer and was the first to summit Everest, said, "It is not the mountain we conquer, but ourselves." And that's one of my favourite quotes, and that's what was going through my head as I was travelling back from a recent event in the Peak District in the UK, climbing and trekking the Mam Tor Kinder Scout Circular. So this is a great walk around 17k, and myself and Sarah, who helps run the podcast, are always looking for an excuse to strap on our hikes boots and head into the hills. So today's episode is a bonus one, as we are joined by Daisy Byron and Clare Fletcher, two of the team that organise some of these really incredible events where groups of emergency services responders, and predominantly women, head out on a shared adventure to conquer something. Now, typically that does manifest itself in a hill or mountain. I'm not sure what the difference is actually. I think it's something to do with the gradient perhaps. But anyway, this year is the second time that Claire, Daisy and the team have took 160 plus firefighters from both 31 fire and rescue services. And there is also some police, NHS and midwives thrown in there as well, to get together for a 2-day social event where you get to take on your own challenge. So the first event was in May of 2023, where they hit Snowdon with 176 people from all across the first responder community and the fire service coming together to share in that adventure. And this year was an incredible follow-up. Like I said, they had 31 fire and rescue services represented there. And after everybody had conquered their own challenge, we sat down with Claire and Daisy to talk about how the event was put together, what the purpose of it is, why is it so popular, why are so many women especially drawn to events like this, to put themselves around like-minded people, to face their fears, to share their experiences, and to challenge themselves. So I wanted to put this podcast out there for all the many people that perhaps have never heard of it and perhaps haven't been given the opportunity to attend an event like this, and strongly encourage you to get in contact with Daisy. You'll find their contact details in the notes below. They're running it again next year. And I'd strongly encourage you to organise a team or even just go by yourself, because it's a very welcoming crowd, some wonderful food. You're not sleeping in a cold tent all night. We were staying in a really, really gorgeous youth hostel buried in the Peak District. And it was just fantastic. Food, fun, laughs, memories, a few tears, mostly from me. And it was just a great event. So a bit of a short midweek drop, bonus episode. Please share it with people inside your organisation if you think it's something that would tickle their pickle. And I look forward to going on more adventures with the podcast team, with incredible people from all over the fire and rescue services, not just the UK, but further afield globally as well. So without further ado, please welcome back to the podcast, Sarah Bromley, but also a huge welcome to Clare Fletcher and Daisy Byron. I'll see you on the other side. You know what, Pete? There's this really interesting thing, and I'll tell you what happened, right? And I'll be like, no, do that first, then tell me. Because It'll be far more better when everyone else can hear it then.
Okay.
Because I see the experience we had in the room today, and I'm like, most people are never going to feel that if they'd never come to something like this. And those people will go home, and they'll say, I had a great time at this thing, and they'll tell a half-baked story of it. They won't, not because they don't care, but because they won't encapsulate what it felt like. And they probably never get a chance to speak to you or to you. So it's like, it's a way to capture that in an audible time capsule, and it lives there forever. We've got episodes from 3 years ago that get thousands of new listens every week because people just scroll back. So it's an eternal timeline of stuff. Predominantly fire and rescue service.
Sarah Bromley.
Clare Fletcher.
Daisy Byron.
Daisy, where are we?
We are currently in a village called Edale in the Hope Valley up in the Peak District, and we are at the Activity Centre YHA Youth Hostel.
So 150 something firefighters, police officers, forgive me, I'll forget, there was midwife, we had people from all sorts of sectors, seem to have gathered here for some kind of reason, and they seem to have an excitable time. They all equally got very exhausted and soggy and seemed to be thrilled about it. What have we been doing this past sort of 48 hours?
So last May, following on from another walk that I organised, I decided to do another one, and it brought us to the Peak District. And basically, I picked out a walk, which was the Kinder Scout Mam Tor loop. Got it on All Trails app, and basically just invited a load of people and basically saw if they wanted to come or not. And it kicked off like a lot at the beginning, and I had a waiting list, and then of course things happen and lives change and people started dropping out and things like that. So we didn't quite fill the youth hostel this time, but we weren't far off, were we, Claire?
No.
When was the first idea of this thing? Because like it's got ties to the women in the fire service, it's got ties to 31 how many services are represented here?
So for this walk it was 31 fire and rescue services. Yeah, 31.
Loads of events will be hearing things and going, Jesus, we'd love to be able to get that sort of turnout at one of our things. But this is really strange because it's not been formally organised by any fire and rescue service. It seems to have just been the value of association, people feeling a lot of benefit from the people they're putting themselves around. Like, when did you have because you did Snowdon last year? When did you have why did this become a thing? What is the first idea you had for it?
So Snowdon happened in the end of April last year, and that was exactly sort of like the same kind of setup. So we took over the youth hostel that had 58 beds, and then I got more interest, so I had to book another bunkhouse, and then I got more interest, so I had to book a campsite. And that's how we ended up with the sort of 176, I think, went up Snowdon last year. But it originally came from, I sent a messenger on Facebook to another lady in the fire service, Sam O'Brien, and said, to be honest, I can't remember how I got onto the subject, but we talked about going for a walk, and I said, I'll see if I can get some people interested in Snowdon, climbing Snowdon. And Sam said, I've got a house in Wales, it'll take 8 people. So I said, right, so that's me, you, we need 6 other people to come with us. So I put it on the WFS network, and within an hour I had 86 people saying that they wanted to come. And it obviously had to then escalate, and that's when I started hunting for youth hostels, the route to take. And then it went, because I'd got 86 people interested, I had the youth hostel and then, say, the bunkhouse and then camping, and it all just went a bit.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Gore-Tex Professional Fabrics. Now, we all know the working environment of a firefighter is filled with challenges. We face serious risks on the job, such as heat exhaustion, burns, physical and mental stress, and we frequently come into contact with high levels of toxic chemicals. Now, I have been wearing Gore-Tex for nearly 2 decades on the front line, working in hostile environments, tackling challenging incidents from firefighting to water incidents and in urban search and rescue environments. Gore-Tex have a well-earned reputation for protecting professionals in the fire and emergency services through their family of highly innovative, waterproof, breathable moisture barriers that exceeds global performance standards and are trusted worldwide. Gore-Tex, going further together. Claire, why do you think there's such a cry out for this sort of thing? Because WFS and similar events, there's something strange about not feeling like the only and putting yourself around like-minded people that sort of want to support each other, want to develop. But like going on a walk together, we see loads of mental health walking groups, but they all sometimes seem a bit formal and they're organised by an organisation. There can be weird rules attached to it. This is it's something very different. Like, why do you think it's took off so much? Why is it so popular?
I think it started because it was for just women. Okay. So it was just for women. So we all felt that we could come together and be together and, just do it as one. So do it as a group. And Daisy was brilliant with, the organising, the making sure everything was sorted, but really made us all feel part of a family together. So you all felt from that very beginning the first moment, that you were connected together, if that makes sense, that you were all, part of a team. We did everything we could to make sure that they were feeling accommodated, working out speed groups, and if people wanted to walk together, and, who wanted to be together in the sleeping. So it just felt like that nothing was a big ask. Everything, if there was a small thing that you needed, it was sorted and it was done. And I think that was what the lovely thing was. You didn't feel like you were,
being forced to do something, or something was expected of you.
Something that you needed was a big ask, because it was all taken really easy.
When you see volunteer stuff like this, I would say the best leadership is always seen in volunteer organisations, because no one's paying you to do it.
No.
And also, if you don't do it, there's no ramifications. I'm not going to sack you.
No.
Do you know what I mean? And that's when you see great leadership, like from yourself and from yourself, Claire, like the way you work with the team, the way people get on board with something like this. But also think, like, it's almost a slight tragedy that it's so popular.
And like, I know that sounds a weird thing to say. What I mean is, there's clearly a void that's not being ticked. Why are, I mean, men now as well, but why are women still feeling that alone in their own organisations? And I know that might sound a clever political question, and I don't intend it to sound that way, but like, why don't we feel like this all the time? Why have people travelled? How long have we travelled? 9 hours?
We had Cornwall was 8, and then Scotland was 6.
They've driven 8 hours.
But for Snowdon, Scotland came 12.
They came 12 hours.
Yeah,
and
for a walk,
for a walk.
They could have done themselves, but there's something about that.
And they had more then as well, 170.
I think it's the...
Why is there such a need for that? And like, why are we not serving that in people and in women especially?
I think it's for me, it was the wanting to do a challenge.
Okay.
And a lot of them that came from my service particularly, it was that wanting to do a challenge. Mm-hmm. But you don't always want to do a challenge, and I know it sounds wrong, but you don't always want to do a challenge as a woman alongside of a men.
No.
So to know you're coming to do a challenge with lots of other women, it meant that you were all feeling quite equal. So you didn't feel you were being pushed by men that can go a little bit harder, a little bit faster, a little bit, further. You were actually being supported by women who go at the same speed, same pace, same, everything. So you felt like it was a bit more of a connection.
Yeah. And no expectations.
Exactly. We did have a couple of men, didn't we? We had about 3 or 4 men.
We had 2.
Was it just 2?
We had
I
Chris.
hate it when they muscle themselves into these things. It's disgraceful. Disgraceful.
Chris, it was...
One had to be a minibus driver.
Chris Walsh. Yeah, Chris Walsh came to Snowdon. He's here now. And then Andy Crosley came to Snowdon. And Andy, it was 74 at the time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He came from Buckinghamshire. Wow. And he and I, along with Ali Bond, who's downstairs. Ali's got the baby Theo.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
The 3 of us climbed it for sunrise and then got back. Lovely. Everyone arrived and then we climbed it again the next day. So
there is something about that shared challenge, isn't there?
Yep.
But also, like, if I tried to throw an analogy over that, when people are in the workplace, it's like, we try and say we're all going to do the same thing, but it's never the same. Like, you speak about this, the young lady, Ali's just had a baby. There's a friend in our group who she's 35, 36, and she's talking about childbirth and stuff like that. She's just become a new crew manager.
Yes.
And she was saying that there's not a good time to do it because I'm going to have to take at least a short career break, and that is going to affect things at work. Like, I'm going to be behind the curve, and everyone... As much as we try and say it's even and it's fair and it's everything else, we never really is. It's kind of the impossible challenge to set up sort of organisations and structures and things like that to make it perfectly equal for everybody. So when you come on something like this and you are able to challenge yourself, because we all do want to be challenged, we want that feeling of success, don't we? That big dopamine hit of I've overcome something difficult alongside my peers, and it was hard and we overcome it and we did it as a team.
Yeah. I mean, last year, Claire and I hadn't even met when we did Snowdon. We've become friends in the year. So we didn't even know each other when Snowdon kicked off.
I thought you were going to say you've known each other for years.
No. When I pulled up because I was camping, when I pulled up at Snowdon at the campsite, you were at the campsite.
Yes.
And it was just straight away, we knew who each other was. And it was the biggest, best hug ever, even though this was our first time meeting, and people would have thought that we'd known each other forever. And it's just carried on like that. And it was just from me taking on the role of organising the food and the walking groups and all that, and then having to speak to Daisy, constantly about different things.
But you've created that now for everyone else, like people we've met and never met before. We now
people we've done
now
episodes
new
with
connections
for 3 years, and you know so much about them, you never even met them.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And now we've got connections in through different services, and who we might see at the next one or something else. And you just, it is lovely because, like you say, you can have a connection with someone here that then you could have for years to come or forever.
Yes.
And also when they go back to their organisations. That networking analysis, and I know it sounds so corporate and BS, like, we're doing some networking, but when you come to something like this, it's that feeling less alone, because we'll now throw everyone back into the wind of the fire and rescue service and police and whatever, and they'll cast back to their services and organisations. And this is again why WFS does a great job with this sort of stuff. You have those ties, you have, like Sarah's saying, you have those connections of support networks, things that people have been through, difficult. And I also think, like, when you go on a walk, it's kind of the best way to make friends with someone, because it's not like this. We're sat opposite now for people that can't see, in an audio platform. It can be a bit intimidating. It can be a bit, right, we're going to go back and forth and blah, blah, blah. When you're on a walk together, the whole walk becomes a journey, and you find everything about that person's life, and they share so much. you can't really manipulate that in any other way, can you?
So
No.
something that you really can't put into words is that my group, I think there was 10 or 11 of us in the group, and we stayed together the whole time.
Yeah.
And that group bonded together perfectly. That I was doing it for different reasons. I was doing it for my nephew who died. And we walked up and I was talking to them and they were like, oh, what you know, we hear you're doing it for something different. And I told them all about it, told them about my nephew and all of that. And we got to the top and it just felt like I had this whole sea of people that were there to support me because I had a little meltdown at the top because it suddenly just hit me that I'd done this in my nephew's memory and raised all this money for him for British Heart Foundation. And I'd only met them at the beginning. I didn't know any of them, apart from one lady. I didn't know any of them before that point. But we got to that top, and suddenly I felt like I just had this new family of people that just pulled me in because they knew how much it meant to me to get to that top and to do this for my nephew. So for me, it was the best feeling ever of not
It's
knowing
like you
these
said
people
about Daisy,
and just
it's
being
like,
there. Yeah.
I don't know this person, but I know this person. Like all the people that go on that walk and have been here today, they also come because they've probably got something they need to like exercise, not exercise a demon, but you know what I mean? They've got something that they need this.
Yeah.
They've driven all these miles, they need this for something. They want to overcome something, they need to let go of something, they need to work through something, and being around other people in environments like this. And also I've challenged, there's a young lady, a couple of young ladies, I think fell over in the mud. One lady nearly hurt her ankle or something, and then she was okay in the end. But we all have these little things where it's like, this is like a lovely analogy for life. You know, we had 4 people we couldn't find earlier, and then we found them, and all of this chaos. And it feels like you've achieved so much as a team, and it's like...
Yeah, and I think that's what I felt with this one in particular. So last year for Snowdon, because we had different walking groups at speeds and times that we left, you did connect like with your group. This one was literally, well, I said it was a meander to begin with, and then when I walked it on Sunday, I realised that the scramble was not a meander. And I was glad. So I did it. So the Snowdon sunrise was a recce of the track, and then Sunday I came up and I did manage to do the full loop because I just wanted to report back exactly what people would be doing, and I didn't know there was a scramble at the beginning. So
you and your partner got out for sunrise, didn't you, Sarah? You got
they weren't particularly brilliant. However, I'm pleased that we did it. It was quiet and it was lovely, and it was great. This was more of like a massive sort of team event. Everyone's really connected downstairs. They've not sort of stuck in their little groups this time. We kind of all wandered off, and if you caught up with somebody, then you ended up walking with them, or if you got slow, you ended up walking with somebody else. Which is great, because I was going to ask you why, because I remember you'd said out that obviously you'd not gone from walkie-talkies, but you've got people's numbers, but then you also said we're not going to allocate groups, just... go when you would like to go, as long as we know you've come back safely. And like you say, that just gives that, if you want to, like you say, get
the
faster.
fluidity to it,
it's not, again, that thing where
that
you will do
someone,
this.
If they have to try and keep
You've
up with
created something for people to come, but you're very relaxed about it, and that's, I think, helps. I think, because people are just like, oh, nice one, we can leave at this time, as long as we check in when we come back. It's all good whether we want to do 5, 10, 15, you put that in your Facebook, and it's just a very chilled vibe, straight from the off.
I think for this one, because it was a loop, I called it a meander round a loop-de-loop, I called it to begin with, and it was supposed to be a circle walk.
You wouldn't have said it.
So that's what we did, whereas with Snowdon, we went up the Snowdon Ranger and down the Snowdon Ranger, I needed it a bit more structured.
Because we couldn't have 170 odd people
just
all
because it's just
up the Ranger route.
Of course.
So we had to manage that a bit better. This was set off when you want, go round the loop, and do sort of like what you want to do. The networking thing is obviously the WFS, the Women in the Fire Service, but I did speak to the directors of WFS after the Snowdon event, because we do have to be careful with these. So this is my event. This isn't a WFS event. It's not an FRS event.
Yeah.
They're governed by a body.
Yes.
So
that can sometimes, because they're a registered charity and stuff, it gets sticky and stuff.
So I made it very, very clear that it is a peer-to-peer. They are not responsible for anything. Your fire and rescue service are not responsible. So we promoted, I can't remember the company now, but we promoted like an independent insurance company, because obviously I've got a operational people. I don't know why I'm pointing. I've got operational people that if they got injured, they can't work.
Yes.
So that is on them.
Yes. It's no different than them playing rugby on the weekend or whatever.
So we did have to make that very clear that it's peer-to-peer, and we're looking after each other, and that is exactly what we've done. So and this one has gone, even though we didn't all do the same walk, everyone seems very happy and enjoyed the day. And it's been a real success.
Stuff like this that people are probably listening to, and they think they want to come and do something like this. And it's something the Firefighter Challenge community has always struggled with, because it does seem, Firefighter Challenge community, it seems quite elitist. It's like, oh God, Jesus, look at you. Look at Sarah and Christy and Helena and Pete and Joe, whoever, Jack, Matt. These people are just fitness gods in some people's eyes, which we are of course not. But it's like, I can't do that. And I know you being motivational or encouraging, but I can't do that. And I'm going to be embarrassed. And I don't want to do it. And I don't even want to come. Even though you're telling me it's really positive and blah, blah, blah. The way that you've set this up and with the options to it, and you were saying about next year, we're not going to necessarily give away where it's going to be or whatnot, but even making it even more inclusive for people that want to engage in this thing, but maybe because they have a physical challenge, not because they're lazy and overweight, just because they've had a challenge in life, or they've just come through something and they're coming back from injury or rehab or a surgery or a childbirth or whatever it might be, making it accessible so more people can come and do this sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
In other news, this episode is brought to you in partnership with MSA Safety. Today we have them to thank for the improved firefighter safety through connectivity in their brand new connected firefighter system. At the centre of the connected firefighter platform is the MSA M1 SCBA with telemetry. You can view battery life, air pressure and estimated time remaining either independently on the M1 itself or from the Luna connected device screen. Also, still with the air status, alarm information, search status, and all of this provided to the incident command for confident decision making during the scene. That integrates straight in with the Luna system, which is a wireless all-in-one device creating an independent search and rescue network, providing edge detection, enhanced personal thermal imaging, while simplifying post-scene reporting and data retention. One of the key parts of the Luna is their FAST system, the Firefighting Assisting Search Technology. This combines directional and distance information with thermal imaging to help find separated teammates and decrease response time. It actually connects you to the other crews in the vicinity for a unified search during the time of mutual aid by instantly notifying the network of Luna devices when there is a downed crew member, allowing for a prompt search and rescue. All of this then plugs into the FireGrid system for cloud-based connectivity, real-time information, and data-driven decisions for the incident commander. It enables you to see the exact location of your firefighters on the scene. And it doesn't require you to be sat on the station. The MSA Hub then provides a wireless gateway straight to the cloud, enabling wireless on-scene data for local and remote incident command for additional eyes on the scene. MSA are truly taking massive strides in the future of improved firefighter safety through connectivity. MSA is dedicated to increasing safety in the fire service through technological advancements. Various feature enhancements, new products, partnerships, and integrations will provide additional capabilities readily accessible by products, software, and services in the brand new MSA Connected Firefighter platform. Now back to the show.
So next year we're looking, I'm thinking, like if we did come back to Edale, there are some hilly walks that we can do if we want to, but it's also about providing, say, a walk around, say, the Lady Bower Reservoir or something like that, because it's on a flat, it's a reservoir.
It is.
So
it's a lovely walk as well,
very
isn't
lovely.
it?
Yeah, because the walks that I choose, they don't suit everybody. However, the encouragement that is given, we had one lady up the scramble today, and when we caught up to her, she was turning back. She ended up walking the 10 miles.
Oh, did she?
Yeah,
she carried
absolutely.
on.
We got her up the scramble
That's
just by
amazing.
saying to her, don't look up, don't look at what you've still got to do, because if you look up, it puts you off. Look at where you've
It's
been
daunting, isn't it?
and look at the floor. That's it. Don't look anywhere
I've got
else.
to do that. Whereas,
Yeah.
like you say, one step at a time, one front of the other. Conversations help as well, don't they? Because to kind of take your mind off. This is really tiring.
Well, she was also higher than halfway.
Oh yeah.
So once you hit
It's
that
longer to
point,
go down.
that is just awesome. It's just like
Coming down
it's
is actually
gonna be
harder as well.
Yeah,
That
it's
impact
hard on
kills
your
your
knees.
knees.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, we got her to the top and we got an awesome photo at the top. And then obviously she had to carry on because she was over halfway then. And it's that feeling. And we did it again. I had a lady in my group for Snowdon and she was like, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. I'm like, you are. And I said, I'll make sure that you are. And we left at 6:30 in the morning for Snowdon.
Yes.
And we got back at 4:30.
Wow.
I promised her.
But you did it, and
So it took us
She
10
was very
hours.
pleased.
and you had that belief in
and
her.
the win for her, like with the
it was
greatest
amazing.
respect for one of us, and I said there was a lady in our group today that was finding things
That's
particularly
amazing,
challenging,
though.
and I'm like, it's an even bigger win for you. I know you look at these other people and go, oh, it's really impressive. It's not, because like you giving your 100% and me giving my 40%, I don't get the same sense of satisfaction that you'll get out of this because you gave it all. And your win will be so much bigger. And that self-confidence, that self-identification, the reputation she has of herself and the self-belief she'll take away from that, going back into her life with other elements. I think we perhaps don't fully appreciate the slight sort of evolution that people go through when they get that bit of self-awareness and come and do something like this. A, they feel like I'm not alone. B, I did something really difficult in front of a bunch of strangers. And now I can come back here and I can sort out this problem in my own personal life or this problem at work, and I know I'm not alone. I think it's powerful.
It's very powerful. And when that lady got to the top of Snowdon, it was the mountain erupted, didn't it? Because they all knew that she'd got taken on this challenge.
Yeah.
We had the perfect weather, didn't we?
We had
It was
amazing
as
weather.
clear
Amazing
as
weather.
clear.
We had full views all the way
view.
around.
It was
Perfect.
amazing.
We had a flyby, didn't we, from the Air Force?
Yes, it
Quite a
was
few times.
amazing.
Wow.
It's amazing.
So, and then, when this lady got to the top, there were loads of people still taking their breaks, and they all just cheered, and it just was amazing. And then they all cheered when we got back down about 6 hours later.
You could see from the photos the happiness in her, couldn't you? You could just see she was just so pleased that she'd got to the top. And it was just amazing to see. I mean, she's from my fire and rescue service, but I didn't see her get to the top because I was in a group behind. But seeing the photos later, because she shared them on our little group that we had, I was just like, wow, that's just brilliant. You can see you've made it, and it's what,
that's it. That is exactly what it's about.
It's
and
not
that was
about the flowers and the chocolates and what I'm given and the thanks. That's not what I do this for at all. And I know that Claire doesn't help me with the food forms for a bunch of flowers, and I know that my mum and Bren didn't come, or Helen, for a bunch of flowers. But, I like to appreciate the support that I am given, because I don't do it all on my own. It just goes a long way, but I don't do it for the gifts.
But also, I don't think you fully appreciate, like I say, the impact you have on other people. We've had it with the podcast in a weird way, where you'll just think you're doing a thing. You're like, I've just organised a walk. Me and my friends have organised a walk for a bunch of people.
But it's not.
And then people will tell this story of, I went to this thing. Who was that lady? Oh, Daisy, and she did this thing with Claire, and
she's so lovely, and it's dead easy, and I met loads of friends there, and
they'll tell that
think
story.
about that thing again. It's that feeling that we'll have leaving here. This is what it felt, and we met this person. Can you remember what we laughed about at the food table? We've eaten, but we're still sat in there an hour later talking to people we met a day ago, as if we've known them for weeks.
There's a lady that's come this time, isn't there, that was very nervous about coming, because she was coming on her own. And she was very, we offered her Teams meetings, we offered her all sorts of chats, just so she could see our faces and get to know who we were, so at least there'd be a familiar face when she got here. And she has hit it off completely with another person, hasn't she? Another girl
who ended up coming on her own.
Who came on her own as well. Yeah. They went in a room together, and that's it. They've just completely hit off. They've walked together, they've roomed together, and both of them came alone. And this one person in particular was really nervous about coming. But we were like, no, come,
we take it for granted because we've got experience, and we go, well, I'm comfortable in my own skin. I'll make a friend. I'll turn up. I'll meet somebody. If I look stupid, don't worry about it. You know what? This is really scary stuff for some people. Really scary.
Yeah, it has been. And she even texted me the day before and just said, I've picked up on one of your messages on Facebook that I'm going to end up walking on my own. And I'm like, there's 150 of us.
You're not walking alone.
And she was like, I'm not coming if I'm going to be on my own. I'm like, I promise you won't be on your own. If you don't find a friend, I'll walk with you.
There you go,
and she turned up. She was here for, I'd come and gone again. She turned up, and then luckily the lady that she was sharing with was a very early arrival too.
Perfect.
So they had loads of time to just connect.
And kind of relaxing before the masses arrived. Yes.
I think though with both of the trips that we've done now, the other thing that's come out of it, and you talk about networking earlier on, friendships have been made, long life ones.
Yeah.
But also there's things like I was invited today by Fire and Rescue Service to go and join them for a fire investigation because I want to get into FI.
Oh, wow.
So, wonderful. Thank you very much.
That's amazing.
I'm going to come.
We've both been invited to something, haven't we?
We've both been invited to London, I've now got a couple of fire safety advisors coming to spend a day in lovely Luton with me, hopefully, if we can arrange it. So it is about creating friendships, but it's also about creating awesome partnership working between the
that
two
you probably
services.
wouldn't get
Yeah.
elsewhere. And
The
then you said you
amount
get
of stuff.
talking, don't you? And then
We
you
go to so
"Oh."
many things, and then we'll end up doing a thing like this. In fact, we had it on a different WhatsApp group earlier. Someone was like, "Why did you get invited to this thing?"
Oh, yeah, we did.
And we'll go to so many different things, and they'll go, "Why are they inviting you?" And I'm like, "Because we go places to meet interesting people with no expectation of return, and you'll be astonished the things that they then invite you to because they go, "Oh, you're like me.
Yeah.
You're a good person. You've got good morals, good values, good whatever," and they want to do more things with you. Because they're like, well, you can help me with this and I can help you with that. And there was no expectation. We could just come here, have a great walk together and then everyone says goodbye and that's it. But you don't. You see yourself in other people. And then you go, I'd love to do some more with you, Daisy. You seem really passionate. You seem really interested. You look how organisational leadership skills you have. Christ, I'd love to do something with you.
It's not like, it's like being a party organiser. It's not leadership skills.
But it is though.
But
you say that because it's so easy for you to do.
works.
If we said to any of those young ladies that we've just mentioned, probably 90% of the people on this walk, they are never going to organise one of these themselves.
No.
Not because they're lazy, not because they don't care. They are just as passionate as you, but this is a difficult skill set for you and the team to master.
It
There's a
works if
reason
you
event
see it as
organising is a
leader.
multi-billion pound sector, because event organising is so damn hard and most of it fails. You know, you guys actually came, you ended up with more money in the pot, which you're donating to the firefighters charity.
Which
Yes,
is
we
amazing.
You know what I mean?
now,
So I'm like, most
yeah.
things end up doing it at a loss. It's taken you lots of time. You end up out of pocket, and everyone has a great time, but it's not sustainable because that person is just setting himself on fire to keep everyone else warm. But anyway, you're making a donation to the charities. Also, and when things like this accidentally are able to do that as well, because lots of people, yourself, Claire, are coming to do it for their own individual reasons, and they may raise money for their own charity. Total transparency, we come and do the breast cancer awareness stuff when we're here and promote that as well. But then it also accidentally manifests into something that goes into a charity that serves all the fire and rescue service around the UK and their families.
Yeah.
Definitely. And
Do
that
you know what
was,
I mean?
we raised a good amount last year, didn't we?
Yeah,
It was a
I
nice,
can't
decent,
remember now. Nearly
6,
8,000, was it in the end?
8.
Whoa.
Yeah,
I'd say not a
8,000.
little amount then.
No, I think it was.
Jesus.
Amazing.
Nice
That's
little amount.
amazing,
Nice little
yeah.
amount. So I raised, I think it was 1,500 for British Heart Foundation on my own, and then you guys all raised about 8, wasn't
I
it?
think it was 8 because we also there was one fire and rescue service, so we had a couple of Just Giving pages going.
Yeah.
So we had the main one, but then there was another fire and rescue service that had their own one.
Yes.
So in total, I'm sure it was over 8
Yeah.
in total.
When you added them all
So-
together.
And that's
But
incredible.
I've used the
Yeah, it is.
firefighters charity.
I have, yeah, a couple of
Yeah,
times.
so have I a couple of times.
Yeah,
See,
and
I'm
I'm going to
waiting for
use
them
them
to
this
come back.
year. And I have used them this year. So I'm going to use them, and I have used them. And it is a wonderful charity.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. And, that's what I will continue to do. But however, we did see Snowdon as a challenge, which is why we did the fundraising thing. Whereas this time round, myself, Claire, and sort of Helen Commons, we sort of talked about should we go down the fundraising route. And because it didn't seem like a massive challenge, even though it was to some people
This
a
is what I'm
huge
saying.
challenge.
Challenges are very personal
Some
word.
have though, haven't they? The
Some have done it individuals,
okay,
but
yeah.
we didn't
Chess,
go huge
no,
groups.
Gloucester, what they're called? It was the Lisa.
The young lady
Gloucester.
walking in fire kit.
No, they weren't working in fire.
That's
They
what
were
we'll do that
working
in
in
the
end.
firefighter
Yeah, young lady walking
charity.
fire
They
kit around
worked.
the whole thing.
It was
yeah.
hot enough in my jacket.
They
I was
walked
in
in
my jacket, yeah,
firefighter
she made me
charity
feel
things,
rubbish.
but what I can't remember what they're called, but they're called the Gloucester Girlies or something.
Oh, okay.
But they did it for the firefighter charity, so
that's
they had a
okay.
page up, and they did it for the firefighter charity.
Yeah, that's
I think there's a lot of
So-
people who are really well connected but might not be firefighter challenge people, and people in their organisation would go, you know what, actually, yeah, for Daisy, that is going to be 100% a challenge. And it's someone like them that they can get behind. All the guys and girls in the office at headquarters that perhaps don't feel like they're operationally at the tip of the sword anymore, but they're like, we can get behind us doing this thing, because for that's going to be really hard. Let's all go and do it as a fire safety team or whatever we are, community educators. Do you know what I mean? That's something I think is huge. I want to be respectful of your time, because there's lots of games and fun and beverages being exchanged downstairs, and
you can relax now.
That noise will slowly begin to erupt, but I'd be remiss if we didn't put people in a lovely warm bath and giving them nowhere to go and do anything with it. So for people that want to find out some more information, in fact, I'll ask you to give me some links and we'll put some notes underneath this. But for people that are listening who just want to go and look at something now whilst they're sat in their car or on the gym or wherever they are, there's a Facebook page, there's email. What's the best way people find out more?
So the specific walk. So yes, after I spoke to the WFS directors, obviously I'm allowed to promote it on the network, because that's ultimately where it comes from. And then we have the gentlemen join us as allies. And what will happen with next year's, I will advertise the walk on the Snowdon Facebook page and tag everyone. Advertise it on the Kinder Scout Mamtal page, and then obviously tag everyone. And then when people start to come back to me to say, yes, I would like to come, I then will create the new Facebook page, and then it is just word of mouth. But I had a West Yorkshire police officer, she's left now tonight, she's had to go home, but she came up to me before she left and she just said, I want to come again, and if I'm allowed, I will advertise it. She sort of came to the party quite late.
Why are you going to close that? You're not going to close it. What's the group that's already going though, like the Facebook group where you share all the information? You're going to keep that?
It stays.
It stays,
It
right.
does stay, but it kind of, like, Snowdon's gone really quiet. So everybody will post all their photos on there, save what they want and put on the walk. And it's live.
If people want to be on a list though, like if people, because they can check the Snowdon page and stuff like that, they're going to miss it, because they might go and read it now after hearing this, and there'll be a thing there.
So you can put our emails at the bottom. They can email
that'd be the
us.
best place. If there's an email address,
we can start up a
spreadsheet.
I bet you get loads of messages.
Yeah, and it's really difficult. I end up sort of like with loads of people. So like you're in my phone, I think, Sarah's Sarah Mamtor.
Yes, because that's how you know them.
That's how I know you.
Yes,
Warwickshire.
Yeah, she is.
I thought you link them to where you met them to start with. Yes, I get that.
Because otherwise, and like
I thought she was going to say like Sarah pain in the ass or something like that.
No, Sarah Mamtor. So I put it on.
It's in the brackets, yeah.
But that's what I do, and then at least I know who's messaging me. So my mobile's probably a good idea, because my work email, we're so busy here. Well, I am. Everybody is. It just gets swallowed up.
Are you sure you want a phone number? You can tell me after this what you best, whether it's an email address or a phone number. Tell me afterwards. We won't put it out.
No, on your email and then just filter.
Yeah, because you might just get bombarded with everything. Is there any closing? Is there anything we think we've missed? Is there anyone we want to acknowledge? Is there anything we think?
Can
we've
I
missed?
just
Yes,
say
please,
thank
Sarah,
you to you guys? I think from both of us,
100%.
because like Pete spoke to me after he'd met you at Women in the Fire Service last year. Please, can you get in touch with this lady? And I said, okay, what's happening? And he said, there's a walk, and it sounds it was it's in a very respectful way. Pete is very busy, so we kind of just went, it sounds really good, and I was really excited about it. What do you think? Should we do it? And I looked at it, and as soon as I saw it was, and I was like, yeah, this sounds cool, and you've been great, and I've really enjoyed it. Yeah. And I know I did when we kind of went and did my own thing today, but coming to here, meeting as many people yourselves, finally meeting you in person after bombarding you with 20 questions every day. Thank you for creating this, I think from us 100%. Personally, but from everyone, because you're both very humble people and the rest of the team, but that's why it works. You don't see yourself as a leader, but the fact that you're so humble and you do this so willingly without wanting the praise and the thanks is why it makes it work and makes people want to be around you. Yeah. And I've loved it. I really have.
There's a magnetic energy to it,
and it's been brilliant, and I've made some great people having a laugh. Just sitting eating and just chatting. The food's been great.
Yeah.
And it's just been wonderful. So
the site here is lovely, isn't it?
It's lovely.
The staff.
You drive into this site and it's like an old farm at the front, and I was like, am I in the wrong place? Yeah. And then you come back to here, this is a very old building, but they've put a lot of money into it. It's very beautiful, isn't it?
But the views
it's
are
really
beautiful.
nice.
But thank you for creating this for us, but for everyone.
I'm glad that I don't know why, with no disrespect, I don't know why I came and spoke to you.
Everyone
last year.
does that. They gravitate towards him and don't know why.
I think someone said, "Oh, that's Pete. He's a pink firefighter. Go and talk to him about the walk, Daisy." And I literally just bumbled over.
I always feel horrific because if I didn't have a Sarah, I'd let everybody down at so much stuff.
Really?
Such an ADHD brain. I'm terrible. I forget things all the time. And then Sarah was saying like 2 months, blah blah blah, Daisy the walk. I'm like, what thing? And then she'll remind me. I'm like, oh yeah, Daisy. Christ, yeah, I know, yeah, Daisy. And then
this is what we need to do.
But
and he's like, yep.
Then I meet other people 6 months later, and I've completely. Some people I've done an episode with them, and we spoke for 2 hours about their life. And it was like 2 years ago, and I've forgotten.
But that's what that's why I had to put the video on Facebook saying, if you come up to me, say hello, and I give you a blank look.
Don't take it personally.
You know, I plaster my face all over the Facebook page with videos and stuff like that. So
they know you better than you know them.
Know my face. I don't know 150 people, but I have remembered this time round most of the Snowdon lot.
Yeah.
So next year I will remember the Snowdon lot and the Mamtor.
I felt like she didn't do the blank face for me, even though she probably didn't know it was me. I felt like she already knew me, but I loved it.
I always wear the pink tunic
"Hi."
just to give away,
And I was
people
like,
are like, it's the guy, it's the thing, the guy. Is there anyone we need to acknowledge? Is there any final pieces you want to add that we may have missed?
No, obviously, as I said earlier in our meeting with everybody, I put it together. Yes, I organised it, but they wouldn't get fed without Claire. On this, so last year, I will just say, Lucy Robinson did the checking in and the checking out, because I didn't even think about sort of like people's, you know, the comings and goings, and then Lucy got poorly and couldn't walk the walk, but she still came.
Nice.
And then after Lucy obviously said, I'll do that, I realised I needed somebody, which is how my mum and my godmother got involved. I work with Helen Commons, so she sort of like helps me out because she's in my service. And obviously Claire is my e-form queen that feeds everybody. So yeah.
That's important info.
Yeah.
Good. Well, on behalf of everybody, we really, really enjoyed it. I know everyone downstairs has got another million questions for you, and they want to buy a drink for you and share some laughs and some memories.
But they won't buy me a soft drink. I only want the soft drink. They keep trying to buy me alcohol.
Be carrying you across the thing.
Okay, yeah.
It's pass them on to Claire.
But Claire, Daisy, thanks so much for it. Really, really enjoyed it, and
very much.
Hopefully, look forward to seeing you next year.
Definitely.
Definitely.
The Firefighters Podcast was created to recognise, acknowledge, inspire, and hopefully even motivate these incredible individuals who have chosen to be part of the first responder community. Our drive and purpose is to create a legacy resource for the current and future generations of firefighters and first responders. We get some incredible feedback from listeners and guests, and as the podcast grows, our desire to create longevity and sustainability means that we are asking for the support of our listeners. If you want to support the podcast, if you want to get discounts to our merchandise, hoodies, clothing, coins, patches, tallies, and also access to all of the incredible documents get shared with us from our podcast guests and sector leaders, then please head over to our Patreon page, and for just £3 a month, you can support the future of the podcast. Please finally hit that follow, subscribe, or rate button on the platform you're listening, and wherever you're around the world, please support your emergency services responders, and thank you for listening.